I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you a few reflections on the gospel for the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. You know, the gospel for this Sunday is kind of a confusing one. It certainly was for me when I was a child growing up, and I would hear Jesus say things like, "Whoever loves father and mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." And that just made no sense to me at all. And I would ask the nuns, how can I be expected to love God more than my mom and dad? And then hearing Jesus say, "Whoever finds his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life will find it." And the other translation of that, "Whoever hates his life will find it. Whoever loves his life will lose it." And it just made no sense to me at all. And maybe even as adults, we can find ourselves uncertain about what is Jesus' point here. Well, that's because we're hearing it as 21st century Americans, not as first century Jews, who would have understood exactly what Jesus was trying to say. For those first century people, Jesus wasn't talking about an emotional response to somebody else. I'm going to really like this person or despise that person. No. Hatred and love, for them, had nothing to do with an emotional response to another person. Maybe another way of thinking about it is Jesus is saying, who are you attached to? That's what it means to love. Or who are you not attached to? That would mean what it means to hate. So the question Jesus is asking his people is, are you attached more to this than you are to God? Are you attached more to these people than you are to others? Maybe a way of thinking about it is like this. Did you ever see the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray? It's one of my favorites. And in it, Bill Murray is this kind of narcissistic TV reporter that, because he is so self-absorbed, he is trapped in repeating the same day over and over and over until he gets it right. And we see him kind of progressing through the movie, first frustrated and angry that he is trapped in this endless cycle, but little by little by little, he begins to change. And he begins to start caring about the other people in this day in which he is trapped. And we see him start becoming a more caring human being, a more loving human being, until the day finally arrives where the endless cycle ends. And he wakes up and it's the next day. And the first thing he says to this woman with whom he was falling in love is there anything I can do for you? How can I serve you? He got it. And that's what Jesus means when he is talking about attachment. Bill Murray was attached now to that woman. He was there to serve her. And that's what Jesus is asking us. Who are you attached to? Maybe we'd like to think of ourselves as being, independent, and to a degree, I guess we all are, but really, every single one of us have arrived at the point in life that we are at because we have hitched our wagon to somebody else's star. We have attached ourselves to someone else or something else. And so the question really is, to whom or to what am I attached? I think of this one guy I know. He had lunch with a friend of his who was an extremely wealthy man, worth about $750 million. And my friend was sitting at table with him at lunch, and he was complimenting him, saying, "My God, you've done a great job. What a successful businessman you've become." And the guy said, "Yeah, but $1 billion. I'd like $1 billion. $1 billion would be better." It is not hard to figure out what he is attached to. Or sometimes we've seen maybe some sports heroes or athletes that we've heard about, even from a young age. They have given themselves completely to trying to achieve mastery in a certain sport, and they get up early in the morning and they hit the weight room and they go to the gym or they go to the field and practice and practice and practice to achieve that highest level of athleticism. And maybe we can find ourselves in awe of that and maybe even inspired by it. But one thing is certain, we know what they're attached to. They're attached to becoming excellent in that sport, and they're willing to sacrifice anything in order to achieve it. those attachments are really easy to see. And it's not evil, it's not bad, but it asks the question, what are you attached to? And I don't like thinking that, I'm attached to wealth or reputation. I'd like to think that those aren't the things that govern my life. So what does? What am I attached to? Here's another kind of a challenging thought. Is there anything evil that I'm attached to? And I guess my first response would be to say no. But, I remember when younger man, I would go to confession to my confessor at the seminary. And one time I was just so frustrated and I said to him, Father, I keep committing the same sin over and over and over again. And he said, well, what do you want? A whole new batch? And I get his point. But mine was that I'm not getting better. I keep doing the same sin over and over and over. And I think a lot of us have had that experience. We keep committing that same sin. We almost are attached to that same evil. And we've seen it, certainly, in others, where we see someone that just nurses a resentment, or they love their anger, or the way they live plotting vengeance. I mean, they're attached to that evil spirit. So, we go back to Jesus' question. What am I attached to? What most directs my life, most governs my life? And what Jesus is saying to us is, attach yourself to me. More than wealth, more than reputation, more than mother or father or daughter or son, attach yourself to me. And how do we do that? Well, I think the way we go about doing that is not as hard as it may appear. Here's how we attach ourselves to Christ. I wake up in the morning, and my first or my second thought is, I'm alive. Thank God I'm alive. I don't know about you, but there has been so much death around me lately that I wake up in the morning and I give thanks to God for my life and for the people in my life. And I know so many people that are so sick, and we've all had our health challenges, but I give thanks to God for my health, such as it is. And I begin my day in that prayer of saying, God, I'm so grateful to you. That's the beginning of attachment. That's the sound of attachment. I am so grateful to God for what he has given me, because everything I have is a gift. And I'd like to think that, I've earned a lot of this or worked toward it, and there is a measure of truth in that, yes. But nevertheless, it's all a gift. And I'm so grateful. And that's what being attached sounds like, what it looks like. Or I could end the day turn off the TV, putting aside the book, and just ask myself, where did I see God today? What went well today? What didn't go well? Or I could, each day, my prayers. I could read a psalm, one psalm a day, or one chapter of the gospel every day. That's what being attached to Christ looks like. Jesus asks us, where's your attachment? And calls us, attach yourself to me. And here is the wonderful irony. If I attach myself to Christ, I then become a better husband. I become a better wife. I become a better parent, a more loving child. If I attach myself first and foremost to Christ, all of those other attachments in my life fall right into place, and I am the better person for it. And so today, Jesus calls us to be his disciple by saying to us, choose me. And today I pray for the grace to do just that, to choose Christ and be not just a better disciple, a better priest, better husband, wife, better person, to be that human, that person that I have always really wanted to be. When I attach myself to Christ, when I choose Christ, I finally become the person I always dreamed of being.